Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here. So yesterday I went to my independent cinema to go and see a stop-motion animated drama called Anomalisa from directors Duke Johnson and Charlie Kaufman. This film is about a lonely businessman called Michael Stone who is unhappy with his family. He's lonely, he's depressed, he's very down, and he's going over to Cincinnati to host a panel at a convention. While at the convention he stays at a hotel, and at the hotel he falls in love with a woman called Lisa overnight. So this film, what can I say about it? Well, it's very authentic, very real. The writing feels very genuine. You feel as if this is how human beings communicate. The way that these characters talk to each other feels really down to earth and real. The emotions they have are believable. The things they try to get across to each other, it feels real. The way that the characters not only talk in a dry, nuanced way, but the way that they slip up on the things they're trying to say, it feels authentic, it feels real. The dialogue is so, yeah, genuine, authentic and real. And the mannerisms of the animation, really believable, really real and organic. There's just something about the way the characters move that's very human. You can even see the way they breathe. It's really, really believable, very real. And yeah, you could argue that the animated characters aren't really justified, in a sense, from first impression. But when you start to see the film itself, you see why they decided to go with stop-motion animation and why they wanted to go with this style, why they wanted it to be very uncanny valley. It's because it fits the story. Now, this film is very much about human identity, and it's about feeling lost and trying to find the right one for you. And the thing is that because the film is all about those subjects, it draws attention to the fact that these are stop-motion puppets, and there are little moments that hint at maybe they can even pull themselves apart and stuff like that. It's self-aware in that sense, so the stop-motion does feel justified in that sense. And here's the other thing, a lot of the characters, all the other characters besides our romantic leads, they have the same faces and same voices. This is to highlight how important Lisa is to Michael, how unique she is and how she stands out from the crowd, because to him everyone's the same. And Charlie Kaufman has stated that the reason that Michael sees everything like this is because he took inspiration from something called Fugoli syndrome. I think that's how you say Fugoli syndrome. And this syndrome involves you being convinced that everyone is the same. And with that as source, with that as inspiration, you can kind of see why Michael has that perspective. And it's very interesting. It leads to a very surreal experience for the movie. And sometimes it's kind of comical. There are moments where, because everyone sounds the same, because everyone has the voice of a middle-aged man, there are moments where it's a bit silly, and it knows, it's aware, and it adds some humor to the film. I mean, like everyone has this same voice. He doesn't change, he doesn't alter his voice in any way. He keeps the same voice, and it's a very dry voice. And they recreate a black and white film, a well-known black and white film, something to do with Godfrey or something. They recreate it with these stop-motion puppets, all of the same voice, and it's really funny. It's the bit that I laughed at the most, and like, because they're all got dry voices, and it just worked for me. It really worked. But there are just moments like that because of that creative choice. It adds humor, it adds charm to the film, and I really like that. So you're probably thinking, well, how can we sympathize with a character who is cheating on his wife? I don't think you're supposed to really sympathize with him. The film doesn't really frame it like that. This film is more of a character study. It's kind of focusing more on, isn't this interesting? Have a look at this man. He's got a mental illness. He's questioning his life. He's going through an existential crisis. And there's something really deep about that, very palpable about that. It's something that you can relate to and find human. And yeah, in a story sense, you could argue, well, there's no way I can like this guy because of what he does. Okay, yeah, I would understand that. But I don't think, to me, personally, I don't think that's the point. I think it's all about studying this guy who sees all these characters as the same person and how he tries to deal with feeling that lonely and struggling to find that one person that stands out. I think that's what it's mainly about. So this film is for adults, which is pretty cool because like it's already rare to see American stop motion feature films, but it's also rare to see adult animated films. So to combine them both makes this film very unique and really not exactly revolutionary, but a good break from things. It stands out in this day and age because we've got so many animated talking animal movies for kids. Something like this is definitely a breath of fresh air. And yeah, this film is definitely for adults in the sense of like, yeah, there's nudity, there's sex, there's swearing, but it's also a very mature story. It's also a very dramatic story. It's these characters going through emotions that we can resonate with, through situations that we can connect to. These are human beings, and yes, like I said, there's nudity and sex, but it's handled very maturely. What I heard is that, this is from the director's mouth themselves actually, they said that they worked incredibly hard to make sure that these sex scenes were handled in an adult, mature way and didn't come across as like some kind of silly Team America style sex scene. They worked hard to make it authentic and real and give it that emotion that it required. And yes, there's nudity, but it's not supposed to be funny or silly or pornographic. It's supposed to kind of strip away our characters and show how human they are. It's like, it shows you everything. It's like, yeah, this is what our characters look without clothes. This is how human they are. And that's great to see in an animated feature. It's great for a film to handle something like that maturely, because nudity in animation is usually a joke. It's usually something to laugh at. And to make nudity a poignant aspect of an animated feature is brilliant because it's rare and it definitely makes the film more admirable. However, I wouldn't say that this film was entirely fulfilling for me. I felt more satisfied by other Charlie Kaufman films. The thing is with other Charlie Kaufman films is that by the end of it, I did feel as if that I had gone through a really strange, warped experience, that my mind had been bent. It was a really extraordinary experience. With Anomalisa, I didn't really get that. The problem is that it's got moments. It's got experimental moments. It's got little ideas. It's like, ooh, that's kind of clever. Ooh, I like that. Ooh. But then it kind of moves on from that and doesn't fully explore it. And there's just moments where I feel like, oh, yes, that's clever, that. Can we have more of that? But they don't deliver more than that. And because of that, I didn't get the same experience that I received through films like Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind or Being John Malkovich. I didn't have that same weird, fulfilled experience, that same kind of like trippy feeling that I would have for like ages afterwards. I think Anomalisa only affected me for about 10 minutes afterwards, and then I moved on. I was kind of like, oh, that was a strange film, and then I just carried on. And yeah, what doesn't help is that it's got a very abrupt ending. It just kind of ends, and the main feeling I had because of that ending was, well, that happened. So I didn't feel as if it was a solid, conclusive ending. And Charlie Kaufman knows this. He said in an interview that he knows that it's intentional, but there's a consequence to that. The problem is that by the end of the film, I didn't really feel as if that I had a satisfying experience. I had a pleasant experience. It was just a nice experience. I felt like that was a nice, good, charming little film, and that's all Anomalisa was for me, to be honest. Yeah, it was good, but I didn't feel like it was as mentally engaging as Kaufman's other films. So yeah, Anomalisa, it's great to see a stop-motion animated feature in this day and age. It's a charming film that explores some very dark themes, but it also has a brilliant, dry sense of humour. It's a good film. It's good. It's definitely good, and I hope that it marks a new age for animated film, and I hope that Kaufman does more films like this, because he does have an interesting relationship with animation. He sees it more as a technique than a genre, which is true. So I'm hoping that he goes into interesting directions with this, and present something that will be just as fulfilling and satisfying for me as his live action films. So yeah, what did you guys think of Anomalisa? Let me know in the comment section below. Cheerio, folks.